one today because we have a very, very special guest that's here with us. We have Jay, and it's also a special edition. It's the DevNet edition today. So we're going to be talking about the DevNet that launched early this week. We changed the structure. We're going to go with the AMA first, and then we're going to move to the weekly recap review. So yeah, let's just get started. Sensei, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Really excited to get to know more firsthand from Jay about Say itself, and more importantly, plans for V2. For some people who've been very closely following this, Jay had a Spaces earlier this week, which unpacked a lot of really cool things coming up. But yeah, we'll do our best to get more out of him today.
Amazing. Yeah, you said it right. So, yeah, Jay, how are you today?
GM, everyone. Today's a fantastic day. It's been definitely an eventful week, to say the least. But yeah, doing great and happy to have this nice small group together to be able to ideally for this, I mean, we do have some stuff prepared, but given that it's like 20 folks on the call, I really would prefer to just help answer all the questions that each of you have individually. So we'll hopefully have this be more like a fireside chat versus like a lecture.
Of course. Yeah, of course. So if you guys have, well, first, thank you for taking the time and thank you for being here with us. Like, I really appreciate it. So yeah, let's do that actually. Guys, if you have any questions, you can just jump right to the stage or you can write that into the chat and we're gonna read you guys. So let's start with a couple questions from the community and then we can move forward with what we have already prepared. So yeah, let's do that. I'm reading the chat right now. So guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We launched our DevNet this week. So if you have any questions about the DevNet, the apps that are live on DevNet, whatever, just use the chat for that or raise your hand.
Yeah, I think whilst we get people interested and get them thinking to come up with questions, we can probably kick things off from our end. And as soon as we get momentum from the community, we can pass it over to them. How does that sound?
Yeah, of course. Okay, let's do that. So, yeah, I think that, well, actually, before we get into DevNet and Say V2, I would love the audience to get you to know better. Jay, so I know that you have an amazing background, so if you can tell us more about it, like from when you started to becoming the co-founder of Say, how was that adventure?
Yeah, it was definitely quite the adventure. So yeah, my background is I grew up in Silicon Valley. So I've basically been surrounded by computers, technology my entire life. I think that's one thing that I didn't really appreciate until much more recently. Like, if you grow up in the Bay Area, it's very normal to be doing like becoming a software engineer or like starting a software company. So yeah, I was surrounded by computers my entire life. Went to college to study computer science, and I initially got into crypto back in 2017. And there's like two sides to how everyone gets into crypto, right? There's like the trading side, and then there's the technical side. From the trading side, it was actually pretty wild because back in 2017, I had friends that were like graduating from college, starting to work full-time at Facebook. And when you started full-time at Facebook as a new grad, they'd give you a $100,000 signing bonus, which is just money that they gave to you as soon as you signed. And it was pretty crazy because they took that signing bonus that they got and they put it all into Ether. And I had 3 friends that did this. They took $100K, they put it into Ether at $40 per Ether. And they had a wild ride in 2017. Like, they just saw everything going up. Then they started like just probably speculating much more than they should have. And then they ultimately saw everything going down and they ended up breaking even. But I think kind of seeing that journey, it made me much more aware of like what crypto was. And then in 2018, my roommate at the time was going through Binance Labs. So he was like a hardcore dev, right? So I ended up working with him on different smart contracts. And that's when I really learned more about the technical side, like how smart contracts work, how blockchains work. And that was kind of like my initial foray into building in crypto. After that, I ended up joining Robinhood. So Robinhood is the US brokerage that made international news almost exactly 3 years ago now. So for anyone that wasn't really following along, there was this entire GameStop saga happening in January of 2021, which is when there were stocks like GameStop. There were roughly a dozen of these meme stocks that were just shooting straight to the moon. And the reason they were doing this is because initially there were some people, like in the case of GameStop, there was, I believe his name was Roaring Kitty. And he had this thesis that like, okay, based off of fundamental valuation, GameStop is undervalued. And then his thesis ended up playing out correctly, but he'd been posting about it on Wall Street Bets, which was the subreddit. And a lot of people just became super, super interested in his thesis. And then they started basically mimicking his trades. And as a result of that, like these core, like whatever dozen stocks, they kind of started going to the moon. Hedge funds and like sophisticated traders were like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. Like these stocks, they are past their fundamental value, so we should start to short it. So shorting a stock is when you bet against the stock. And mechanically what happens is you borrow a stock from someone else. So if I want to short GameStop, I would borrow it from someone else. I would sell it. Let's say that the current price is like $400. So I would sell it for $400. Then afterwards, if the price goes down to $100, I would buy it back for $100 and then I would return it. So by doing that, I would have made like a $300 profit. The only issue is if the value of the stock goes up, then there eventually comes a time where like you're like, shit, I'm so negative on this stock that I need to close my position. And to close a position, you once again need to buy the stock and then return it to the original owner. So when you have the price of a stock going up a lot, and there's a lot of short interest on it, so there's a lot of people that are short selling it, that results in that stock just going, like people needing to buy back the stock, which leads to more buy pressure, which then leads to the stock just continuing to go up, which is called a short squeeze. So GameStop, a bunch of these other stocks, they were getting short squeezed. And then just one day, like completely out of the blue, Robinhood decided to turn off buys. And I don't know if you all remember, but this was like a huge thing that Robinhood decided to do. Like people were just not able to buy GameStop anymore, and people were losing a lot of money because of this. So the entire world, honestly, was outraged. And at that time, I was an engineering lead, and I had like a team of people that were like asking me questions like, yo, man, the hell is happening? Like, this is pretty unacceptable. This goes against everything that Robinhood should be standing for. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I don't really have anything to be telling you, because everything that I had learned was essentially like, we're finding out about it in real time. So they would announce it to the world, so it'd be on the news, and that's when I would find out about it as well. Exact same thing with my friends, because I had several people that were like DMing me like, yo, man, what the hell is happening? Once again, I had nothing to really be telling them. So that really highlighted to me how when you have these centralized systems, you completely lose your sense of agency. Like you have no ability to do anything really, and it's a completely trusted system. You have no visibility into what's really happening behind the scenes either. So that experience made me much more of a decentralization maxi. Like anything that happens on chain is inherently transparent, it's inherently trustless, and it would have avoided a lot of the issues that we saw with Robinhood. So that was kind of my origin story. From there, we started initially trying to build an exchange, realized that the infrastructure wouldn't work very well, so started building our own layer 1, and then that led to what is now SaveB2.
That it's great. And yeah, I completely remember. That was actually, I think that early 2020, I think we were just started with the quarantine here in Argentina, and I remember seeing all that. And I was also like just getting started with crypto as well. So that also made me more confident on the blockchain technology itself, just because of the transparency of it. because basically you can see all the transactions, you can see where the money goes, and basically everything. So yeah, I think that really makes sense to start like building your crypto career, your blockchain career,
Exactly.
because of that, of course.
Yeah, I mean, just one point to build on top of that. When you have these decentralized systems, you are the person with control, you are the person with power, and you do not have to rely on anyone else. And I think that is massively powerful. Like if you try to do something with a bank, like in the United States, if I'm trying to send a wire transfer, for example, it's such a complicated process. And along the way, if the bank doesn't like what you're doing for whatever reason, they basically shut down your access to be able to touch your own money, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. So these decentralized systems, I think, are one of the most powerful and effective ways to give power back to the people to be able to do whatever they need to. So yeah, I mean, kind of after understanding how the traditional financial system works, like I just think it is incredibly antiquated and it completely takes away power from the people. So yeah, I'm super bullish on seeing how things play out over, like, I think over the next decade, we're going to start seeing more and more adoption of crypto and blockchains, especially in developing countries, for a lot more financial rails. And then I think in the longer term, there will start to be more usage of blockchains, even in developed countries like the United States.
Yeah, 100%. And like, so you work for companies like Robinhood, right? Which I assume that you gain a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge from it that you probably are using now to build Say. Do you think that the culture and the work ethic that you took from companies like Robinhood helped you to shape Say's culture as well from a company perspective?
1000%, yes. 1000. Like, one of the most important parts of Silicon Valley culture is ruthless prioritization and moving as quickly as you possibly can in order to be able to solve real user problems. And this seems kind of like a straightforward concept, like, oh, you should build stuff for users and you should try to move as quickly as you can. But if you look at the crypto industry, I'd say like 95% of projects don't do this. Like 95% of projects, they go out there to raise a seed round. They raise money based off some narrative that doesn't really make much sense, but they're able to convince some like investors of like, oh yeah, give us some money. And then they're kind of just building technology for technology's sake. And they try to over-engineer, over-optimize a lot of things, and not really focusing on the one or two things that really move the needle. On top of that, a lot of teams also don't really treat moving as fast as they can as like a first-class citizen. Like they're okay with launching like 6 months, 1 year later. And I think that's just fundamentally the wrong way to be building a product. Like to build a product, you need to understand what users need. From there, you have to get something built as quickly as you can. Then you need to have users try it. So you have to launch it, have users try it, and then from there, iterate. I think that's how every single successful Web2 company was built. I think that's exactly how every single successful Web3 company is going to be built as well. So every single thing that I mentioned, it has always been part of the core Say Labs ethos. So yeah, I think the Silicon Valley mindset is incredibly important for us.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's something that I felt myself when I joined the team as well, because it's something that we like. It's kind of like our mantra for the community team. Like we are not trying to create initiatives for the community that we think that are gonna take off, but we want to talk to the community. We want to hear the community, listen to their feedback, and after that, gather all the information that the community gave us, and after that, start launching initiatives that they will like to participate on. Just like this Vibe Call or the Town Hall, all the recurrence events structured, points, everything. So to be honest, yeah, I really felt that culture when I joined the team, and I think that Sensei, you can agree with me on that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. For the short time I've been around with the foundation, I definitely resonate with this. And I think for those who are in the community and like are seeing this from a distance, you can definitely agree and notice this Silicon Valley ethos from Say, because you just have to see when Say V2 was launched, which I think was late November. And in less than 3 months, we're already live on DevNet. Like, this is leading by example, pretty much.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So I want to remind to the audience, guys, if you have any questions, we have Jay here with us in the stage. So you can drop your question in the chat or just raise your hand and we're going to bring you up. So let's get started with some DevNet talk. Because we launched our DevNet this week, and I think that what I want you to tell this small audience, Shay, is why they should care about the DevNet, because this is a huge step, and I think that people basically they don't realize how huge it is actually. So why people should care about the DevNet from your perspective?
Of course. So, I mean, maybe taking a step back, like Say V2, why did we put this out in the first place? Well, it's because Say V1 was released in August on mainnet. And there was some very clear user feedback, very clear developer feedback that the EVM is here to stay. Like every crypto native engineer right now, or almost all of them, I would say around 90-95% of them are very strongly tied to the EVM. And it just makes the developer experience much easier if you support the EVM. What is missing from the EVM, though, is it's not able to scale throughput. Like if you try to use Ethereum L1 right now, you can get like 20 transactions per second. You try to use any of the rollups built on top, you're not really getting more than 50 transactions per second. And this really limits the design space that developers have. Developers have to build things that fit this constraint of around 50 transactions per second. So you see things like automated market makers, AMMs, like Uniswap, for example, getting built. And in traditional finance, there's no concept of an AMM because it's not capital efficient, it's not optimal to be using. But you have to use this anti-pattern on chain because there's no real workaround if you want to be using the EVM in Ethereum. We think that's silly. We think that there's a ton of work that can be done to scale throughput and to give developers a bigger design space. We also think that when you're constrained by 50 TPS, block space is very scarce. So that leads to gas prices being insanely high. And we've seen this on Ethereum. Like earlier this week, we hit over 100 Wei on Ethereum, which essentially prices out 99% of the world. Like if it costs dozens or hundreds of dollars to do complicated transactions, no one's going to be using it. So that's what I think is really lacking with the EVM right now. And that's the problem that we set out to solve. So in terms of technical milestones, I would say that there's 3 major technical milestones to be able to have something that people can use on mainnet. The first milestone is an internal DevNet. This is where we have something working internally, and then we're able to get top tier projects to come and privately launch to make sure that everything works. That's step 1. So we actually finished step 1 back in December. We had a Say V2 war room where people from Say Labs got together, and we're basically working around the clock 24/7 to get something shipped. And we got something shipped and it worked. And we're like, hell yeah. The second milestone after that is the public DevNet, which is what got released earlier this week. The reason the public DevNet is really exciting is because this is a way for the entire world to come and try out what we've built. So it's stable, it's battle tested, and it really allows everyone to play around with it and deploy their own smart contracts, for example, or play around and see what the MetaMask experience will be like on Say. So there's a ton of things that people can try out. And it really gives a vote of confidence that, like, yes, this is something that is moving in the right direction, and this is something that I can play around with. And the last milestone is then going to be the mainnet launch, which will be later this year. And yeah, I mean, we're getting closer and closer to that. Like the DevNet so far has been incredibly smooth, which I think is very, very, it's a very good sign. There haven't been any major technical issues. So once we're kind of wrapping up some other work streams, once that's done, then we should be pretty good to launch on mainnet soon.
Amazing. That's amazing to hear. Yeah. And from the community as well, we had very positive reaction from after the DevNet launched. But here we have a question for you, Jay, from Destroyed. That if you know, what has been the dev community's response so far? Not just the community of in general, but the devs community. What was their response?
It has been insanely positive. Like, it is a night and day difference between the developer sentiment around Savvy 1, which only has CosmWasm contracts, and Savvy 2, which has both EVM and CosmWasm. The reason for this is because crypto native engineers, basically they're all tied to the EVM right now. And they're very hesitant to leave the EVM and move to a different execution environment. So if you're trying to go from like the EVM to CosmWasm, it's not just about like the EVM alignment side of it. From a technical side, it's also really scary because if I am an engineer and I try to deploy something on CosmWasm, I need to, first of all, rewrite everything in Rust. And if there's any bug that happens, then my entire smart contract can get drained. Like if I'm building a lending contract and I have a bug that accidentally allows people to withdraw the funds, like literally one line of code can result in my entire project collapsing. So engineers are very hesitant because of that as well. And that's why the EVM, like there's so much of a community around the EVM right now that I don't see it going anywhere in the near future. Like the EVM is here to stay. And the question is, what can you do to make it better? And that's exactly why engineers and founders are really excited about Savvy 2.
Amazing. That's amazing. We have a couple more questions here from the community, so I'm gonna keep reading you guys. So, what strategies could be implemented if Savvy 2 experience is overloaded and it isn't able to effectively process transactions for applications built on the Savvy 2 platform? That's a question from Manimore.
Yeah. So what we're anticipating is that Savvy 2 will be a 100x improvement over Ethereum L1 and rollups. And by 100x, I mean, if Ethereum L1 is able to process like 20 transactions, rollups are around 50 transactions, Savvy 2 will be able to get to 5,000 plus transactions. So the bound in which we start running into these kind of congestion issues is going to be 100x higher. So it's still going to be substantially better. Once that happens, then it functionally ends up being similar to most other types of architectures, where you need to have some kind of mechanism to help account for congestion and let users express how important getting block space is to them. So say we'll be having multi-dimensional fee markets in the future. Right now, in terms of innovation on fees, there's only really been two chains that have done anything there. There has been Ethereum with EIP 1559. There's been Solana with localized fee markets. There haven't really been any other big initiatives taken by projects. Before the end of this year, Say will most likely have put out some proposal and potentially built it out as well for how to be supporting multi-dimensional fee markets and being able to both let users express their preferences for how important block space is to them, while also taking into account resource utilization from the chain side, such as, for example, giving benefits if you're submitting a parallelized transaction versus something that is touching shared state, so needs to be run sequentially. And also giving additional benefits to people that are reading from memory, like transaction needs to read from memory, it ends up being more efficient than if it needs to load from disk. So there's a lot of different things that we're accounting for, but there will be a ton of interesting stuff about that soon too.
Thank you for the answer, and hope that answered your question, Manimore. We have Crypto Boy here on the stage with us. Crypto Boy, how are you? He's one of our mods. Do you have any questions? Anything you want to add? Any questions for Say about the DevNet? Any thoughts you want to share? How are you?
Yeah, I think GM, everyone. Yes,
GM, sir.
I always like to say a big shout out to everyone, to our community. Of course, we are where we are because of them. So a very big thanks to all of them, and then everyone on this spaces. I know there are some clashes with the event, but many managed to join us here, and we really appreciate it. I think my question has to do with the TG, and I think a lot of science would like to also know, how is the TG going to play out? Like, are we going to have a different set of tokens like emitting from the V2 mainnet launch, or it's just the same token that we know working on the cousin wasm environment? Like, how does it all play out, Jay? I think I'll be very honored to have this question answered.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's been a lot of confusion around this as well. So I'll give a very straightforward answer. There's nothing you need to do from a user standpoint. And from a more technical standpoint, it's going to be the exact same token. Say V2 is a purely additive change. So there's already the COSM WASM side of Say. There's already the Say token that exists. As part of this upgrade, if governance approves it and then it goes live, what will end up happening is there's an EVM component that gets added on through a chain upgrade, but it's going to be the exact same chain, exact same Say token. No users will need to do anything to account for that.
Well, I think yes, that's pretty easy, and it answers the question. So hopefully, all the sayers who are listening, I hope you receive us this question in future. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Crypto Boy, for your question, and thank you for jumping here. So, Jay, I think that we're running up on time, but something that I really want you to touch on, it's about, B2, because when I talk about B2, I just always mention three things, which is EVM compatibility, optimistic parallelization, and SayDB, right? And I always get the same question, that is, what is SayDB and why is that so important? So I would love if you can give us a brief answer on that, about why SayDB is so important and why SayDB is so unique as well.
Of course. So yeah, I mean, this can get really nitty gritty from an engineering standpoint. I'll try to keep it higher level. So high level, Say V2 increases throughput. So Say V2 results in there being more transactions per second. When there's more transactions per second, there are more updates that happen to the blockchain. Like if there's 1,000 transactions, there will then be 1,000 updates that happen to the blockchain. Instead of 10 transactions, there will only be like 10 updates, right? So when there's more updates that happen to the blockchain, there's more data that you need to be tracking. And that's exactly what SayDB helps with. When you have more data, how do you more effectively access that data? How do you effectively store that data? How do you effectively start running new full nodes that are then able to like import that data, right? So there's a ton of complexity around that. And SayDB has done a ton of work to improve that. And I guess some of the numbers that I'll just highlight real quick. There's over a 200% improvement in commit times. So transaction execution ends up being much faster. And there's over a 50% reduction in storage. So the amount of data that needs to be stored gets reduced as well. So that's why SayDB, from my standpoint, is very, very cool, because there's a ton of technical improvements made to better help from that side.
Yeah, amazing. That was a great answer. So yeah, I think we made it to the time. I know that you're a really, really busy person, so we can let you go.
Yeah, I mean, from my side, I guess just like two last things. There's one question from Raystar here that I wanted to address.
Of course, yeah, please.
Just like
go for it.
Thoughts. So Raystar's question was about 39 active validators. Is that centralized? My answer to that is absolutely not. Say is not centralized at all. And the way that I think about this is like, first of all, do you have a distributed validator set of independent nodes? And from that standpoint, Say is quite sufficiently decentralized. And I think in the longer term, the direction the industry is moving in anyway is verification over validation. Like it's a complete waste of resources to have 100,000 or 1 million different validator nodes that are all re-executing the exact same set of transactions. Like if you have, let's say, 1,000 transactions in a block, and then you have 100,000 validators, every single one of those validators needs to execute all of those 1,000 transactions, which is a huge waste of resources. What is more effective to do instead is to move towards verification, where you just have a smaller set of validators that is sufficiently decentralized, that is able to run these 1,000 transactions. And then there's zero knowledge proofs that get created of these state transitions. and then light nodes are able to consume these zero knowledge proofs. And I think that's the world that we want to move towards, where instead of needing to rerun all 1,000 transactions 100,000 times, just have each person on their browser, like in MetaMask, for example, being able to consume these zero knowledge proofs to be able to verify the state transitions that happened. So yeah, I mean, happy to chat about that some other time as well. And the second thing I just wanted to go over is that the past few months have been incredible for Sei. And I think the biggest reason for that is the community, like the people on this call. And I think the only reason that Sei has been able to kind of succeed the way that it has in terms of getting the renewed developer interest is because the people on this call have been super excited about what we've been building and helping spread the word about that. So I just really wanted to thank you all. And I also want to say that Sei is definitely at an inflection point right now. We're at the start of something that is going to be quite significant for the industry overall. If we're able to do a good job building this architecture, we're able to do a good job growing the ecosystem around it, like getting good developers to come on, I think Sei could be one of the biggest crypto projects that has been released in the past several years. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone on this call for joining along in that journey.
Let's go. Love to hear that. And yeah, thank you for joining us today. This was a great AMA. This was a very special vibe call for all of us, actually, having you here talking about DevNet and everything. It was great. So yeah, thank you for joining and taking the time.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thank you. Bye, Jay. So, Sensei, how was that, man? A lot of information
awesome.
to process, right?
Yeah, it was nice to get these insights from the man himself. It's a shame like we couldn't go on for longer because we could literally go on for hours, right? But we have to keep in mind that we are at a very critical mission to ship V2, and we don't want to...
He has a chain to build.
Exactly. So I see we've got a few people wanting to join. We'll continue this format, but at the same time, we'll take this time to go over the weekly recap that we were meant to do at the beginning of the week.
Yeah, let's do that. I would actually like to answer a question that K-Boss posted earlier today when Jay was here. And we didn't take it because it's something that I think that I can answer, K-Boss. K-Boss asked an advice for building a product and how the Sei Acceleration Program helps these developers. So I think that actually something that it's really cool about Sei, it's that you can reach out to anyone from the team and basically they will answer you. If you want to start building a product, if you don't know from where to start, I would actually encourage you to go to the official links channel and check out the new Sei V2 documentation, because that's where you can actually start building on the Sei V2 DevNet. So, and there's a step-by-step process there for you to basically go through. But in terms of like connecting with the team and everything, like all of us has our DMs open. So you can just reach out to any of us. You can reach out to me, to Sensei, to Philip, to even Jay, to whoever. So yeah, that would be my answer. For you, if you want to start building a product on Sei, for sure. So we have,
and as Jay was referring to, like our strongest point is the community, right? So definitely hang out with the community, get to know other people and see what they're building, because there might be a lot of synergies out there.
Yeah, 100%. So we have Sei 096 here. So Sei, how are you? GM, Sei, are you here with us? Let's give Sei 3, 2, 1. He's not here with us. Okay, let's move him back to the audience. So let's keep moving with the with the weekly recap, Sensei, we had an amazing week. The DevNet just launched, so I think that was our main thing this week for sure. If you guys want to check out the weekly recap, it's on the community updates. I'm gonna just start covering this and then pass it on to you, Sensei, if that sounds good.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, amazing. So first thing this week, of course, our public DevNet is live. Let's go. Love that. So as I was telling Kivos a couple minutes ago, if you're going to start building, if you want to try out the DevNet and the power of V2, so you guys can do it right away, actually, clicking on the V2 docs. That will take you to the step-by-step on how to start building on V2, or also trying out, like you don't need to be a developer to try out V2. You can also try out the apps that are already live on V2, which are DragonSwap, Camel, and Gamblino. So yeah, that's the thing actually. And then moving on, we have Silo that surpassed 3 million in SAYs staked. This is actually insane, because I'm always adding Silo as part of our weekly recap, because they're constantly reaching to new goals, always growing all the time. It's crazy to see 3 million SAYs stake. It's just crazy. I remember when they just launched and they were 1,000 followers, and they didn't even launch, and now they're 3 million up staked. It's crazy. So then DragonSwap, it's now live on DevNet. DragonSwap, it's a native DEX on Say. That it's live right now. So if you guys want to try it out, that's live right now. You can now do swaps and everything right on Say V2. Then we have Camel, that it's also available on DevNet. Camel is a DeFi platform that I would encourage you guys to try out as well. And then moving on, we have Market, which is Saiyan's marketplace, has confirmed its launchpad. So that means that we're gonna have a new launchpad on the Say ecosystem. That's amazing to see. I think that Market, it's doing it's actually not Market. I'm calling it Market, but it's not a Market. It's MRKT. They're doing it really well. I can see a couple Saiyans here in the audience. So huge shout out to the Saiyans team. And yeah, moving on, we have Gamblino as well. That's live on DevNet. They did a great job launching a gambling platform. So guys, yeah, those are the 3 apps that are live on DevNet right now. If you want to try it out, you can just click right onto the link. That will take you to the step-by-step. You don't need to be a dev just to try out the V2. So I'm going to leave this one here and say, Sensei, that's all from my side. And if you want to kick it off from here.
Yeah, I think for the recap, it's also worth highlighting our existing initiatives. These are recurring, so it's always good to know how they're going ahead. We have still live until later today the meme of the week. So if you have any memes that catch the essence of, say, leveling up to V2, and you feel creative about it, definitely you still have a few hours left to submit memes for the meme of the week contest. There's some brilliant memes in the memes channel if creating ones are not your thing, just to have a good laugh. So definitely check that out as well. And yeah, I think one thing we very briefly highlighted yesterday and was part of the recap, and I think is pretty cool, is we might have John Cena being true Saiyan.
Oh,
We still
yeah.
don't know if he's following Austin or not. So this might be
He's
a
not.
shameless
He's
plug
not, man.
to ask everyone in the audience to nudge John Cena to follow Austin.
Yeah, I just can't believe that we've been talking about that yesterday and he didn't follow me, actually. I'm just so mad with John Cena. I'm gonna fight him on the next WWE Championship.
Yeah, I think he can't see you, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah, other than that, I just wanted to highlight that, yeah, we have those 3 dApps that you mentioned that are on DevNet, but to my surprise, there's dApps launching every single day in the past few days on DevNet, and there'll be more to come. So whilst these are not on our official website, there's a lot of devs deploying stuff on DevNet. So you might have more than you think to play around with in our DevNet. And as always, like all of these transactions are blazing fast.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So we have here a couple more things that were highlighted for this week. Sensei, you wanna take it from here, or do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll chime in between.
Okay, yeah, of course. So we have Chicken Egg that is launching a Say Ivrit NFT on chain called CW366. Well, actually, like all of you guys know, I'm not a technical person at all. So, like, I'm not gonna start talking about this new hybrid NFT because, like, it sounds really, really good. But yeah, let's see how that turns out. The Saiyan token, it's now listed on MEXC, which is a centralized exchange. That's actually really, really cool to see because Saiyan, as you all know, it's I think the biggest meme token in the Say ecosystem that now has been listed on a centralized exchange. So that's really, really good to see. A huge shout out to them. The Colony, the Ants, released a new teaser showcasing its new bridge, Ant Swap Bridge. So, wow, that was actually really, really crazy to see because, like, I thought that Ant Swap was just like a swap platform, but now we saw that it's gonna work as a bridge. So that's amazing to see and an incredible product that the Colony brought up to the ecosystem. So yeah, huge shout out to the ants as well. Food foxes, right now the hot topic of the Say ecosystem, released their Whitelist Keeper B1, which is their new feature that are gonna be basically releasing. Well, they actually released. And yeah, then we have Palette that stands with creators in the royalties discussion. That was actually really, really cool to see because we have seen with the launch of MRKT and also Quick Marketplace, we started seeing kind of like marketplace war as we saw previously on Ethereum and Solana. Now that marketplace war is taking place on the Say ecosystem, and Palette took their part and they stand with creators with the royalties discussion. And then last but not least, we have the Cappies that exceeded 500K in trading volume. So huge shout out to the Cappies. We've had the Wangman here with us on the previous Vibe call. So huge shout out to them. So yeah, that was actually all the highlights we had for this week. But it was not actually, like as you said yesterday, Sensei, it was not actually the only thing that happened this week because there are things happening in the ecosystem all the time, all day, all night, right, Sensei?
Yeah, 100% agree. Like a lot of these things they're brewing under our radar. So we'll definitely get to know more as they get momentum and they get backing from the community.
Yeah. I would love to. I want to do a couple shout outs here. Huge shout out to Nikuta. Love your naked dove there. Ayman. Huge shout out to Monivong. Huge shout out to Kavos. Huge shout out to Cass. Huge shout out to my favorite horseman here, Boyak, one of our mods. Huge shout out to Balkar. Huge shout out to RMNA. Huge shout out to all of you guys. So let's open the floor for a couple Q&As. Let's do a bit of a Q&A session here. What do you think, Sensei?
Yeah, let's do it. We have another 10 minutes to go. So definitely we can give some time for the community to ask questions.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions and you guys want to jump here to the stage, just raise your hand, or you can ask any questions on the chat as well. We're gonna be reading you guys. One thing that I wanna add here is that remember that this is part of our recurring event structure. We have all the recurring events that are on the events channel. We've had here a bit of an overlap today with another space that was taking place, that it's taking place right now actually on our Twitter. But yeah, like the vehicle, it's every Friday, 10 a.m., like actually not 10 a.m., it's 4 p.m. UTC. So I just want to remind you guys that we're going to be here with you every Friday for 1 hour of your Friday to wrap up your Friday, your week, the best way that it could be here with you. So we want to remind you that, yeah, I see that we are having quite a shy audience right now, Sensei, because no one raised their hand yet.
Yeah, indeed. We did have some questions at the start towards the beginning, but I think everyone's rather shy right now.
Yeah, just guys, you can throw your question here in the chat as well. Like, it's the same. We're gonna be reading you here. So, but yeah, I just wanted to thank you all for joining. Like, I just really enjoy these events, and I love the support that we're getting from the community. I'm really thankful for the community we're building. Like, that's something that I always want to highlight on my Twitter as well. Like, I just always want to be grateful for all these kind of things, because having 56 people here in the audience, it means the world for me. Having a community that really supports what we are creating, having a community that really supports all of our initiatives. So this couldn't be possible if it were not because of you guys. So I really appreciate you all. Okay, here we have a question for you, Sensei. I don't know if you wanna take this one.
Yeah, I've seen this question on a regular basis. It's about possible airdrops from, say, ecosystem dApps. I mean, it's the airdrops. If they happen, they depend on the ecosystem dApps whether they want to reward native say stakers. In my opinion, it's been hugely successful. So I don't see why other ecosystem projects wouldn't pursue this. But again, I can't give an answer on behalf of projects that are building on Say. So it's up to them if they want to do that. And yeah, I also see a follow-up question. So yeah, I think Kavos is asking about the game night, which we did this Wednesday, and we're trying to do it every Wednesday going forward. So it will be good mix of different activities. The first game night we had 2 weeks ago was about guessing pictures. So it was more general knowledge based, whereas this week's game night was all about DevNet and say. So we'll continue mixing things up. So sometimes we'll have more interactive games. Sometimes they could be like a quiz format. So yeah, we'll try to spice things up and like give a bit of variety there. But
Nice.
in essence, it will be a space for everyone to hang around and have fun.
Amazing. That's amazing to hear. That's amazing to hear. So we've had Jay today here. For those who just joined, we had Jay here talking about the DevNet launch, B2 in general, everything. We've had a great time. So on say EVM, we can call. Yeah. That's a good thing that EVM has. Like, I'm not a developer, but I know that you can code with Solidity on EVM. And as far as I know, Solidity for developers, it's much easier than Rust. So I think that's why probably EVM it's here to stay. So yeah, thank you for your question, Hussein. So yeah, I think that if we don't have any other questions here from you guys, we can just wrap it up. We're about to.
Let's do it. Let's wrap it up. I think we have someone who's requested to speak. If they want to join.
Oh yeah, we have a mayor here. Yeah, let me.
If not, we are about to wrap up. And we have Kamal Khan. So hey, how you doing?
Hello.
Good, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hello. How are you?
How are you doing today? I'm fine, sir.
Amazing.
Okay, sir. So, sir, I want to ask a question. I tried to ask since, but network didn't allow me to ask since Jay is around. So, my question, sir, here is, I want to know how long this DevNet will take, because sometimes hosted give me problem, but I don't know because I won't complete all before the time reach. I don't know if there is enough time for me to test well. That's what I'm trying to ask.
Okay, so that's a great question, and thank you for your question. So I think that you're asking about when the DevNet will end and the mainnet will be launched, right? So what Jay said earlier today, it was that we're gonna have the mainnet really soon this year, by the end of the year, right? So the DevNet will end up when the mainnet launched. So you have time to try things out for sure. So don't worry about time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, and Kamal, if you're having any issues with getting DevNet tokens from the faucet, definitely let us know. And if the issue persists, we'll first try to troubleshoot what are you facing, and if needed, like we can send you some DevNet tokens ourselves. And yeah, I think like to add to his question, I think DevNet will last shorter than we all think, because if we could ship DevNet in less than 3 months, I don't think it would take a long time until we launch mainnet. But again, this is entirely an environment for testing purposes, so we'll only launch once we are 100% confident that the network is ready for mainnet.
Exactly. I think that I don't know if you guys saw one of my last tweets about what's the purpose of DevNet. I covered a bit of this here on that tweet. which it was basically like the main purpose here for the DevNet. It's for you to try it out and give us feedback. We want to battle test the chain, and we want you to ask questions. We want you to also give us feedback, because that's the most important thing for us if we want to build something that works for everyone, because community feedback, it's what makes things good, actually, because we are building for you guys, so we want you to be the ones that builds with us. So yeah, with all that said, I think that we can wrap things up if there's not any other question here to take. We had an amazing event today, and thank you all for joining. Oh, we have one. Crypto Shake. Let's take it. Sensei, do you have? Yeah, okay, cool.
Good morning, guys. Sorry for my English, it's not so good, but
No problem, GM.
But I would just like it to say some words. I just want to congratulate the beautiful work that this community has been doing with such attentive moderators and a community so engaged in Twitter space with
Amazing.
a real rain of well-crafted posts. That is just thank you for the beautiful work you guys have been doing.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your kind words, sir. I really appreciated that. This wouldn't be possible if we didn't have you guys, because like this is for you and we're building this for you. So yeah, it's amazing to see the support from all of you guys. I really appreciate that. So yeah. So let's wrap it up here. We have I want to thank you all again, the 71 people here we have in the audience. Thank you guys for joining today. Thank you, Sensei, for being my partner in crime here. And also thanks to Jay for joining us and taking the time to talk about DevNet and all the insightful conversations we've had. So yeah, thank you all.
Yeah, I think as we wrap up, we might also want people to join. Oh wait, yeah, we just had the Twitter Spaces end right now, so otherwise I would have asked people to join. But yeah, in a while we'll have that recording ready. So if you were spending the time vibing with us, you can definitely re-listen to that in a bit.
Amazing, guys. Thank you so much for joining. See you guys next Friday for another Vibe Call, 4 p.m. UTC. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye.